Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, wow, I didn't even have to ask twice. That was great. Really nice to have everybody here. Pretty full house. First panel, first Fireside chat. So glad that everybody has come out today. This is my third year helping out from day one, and I always really enjoy this opportunity to learn where we are and, more importantly, where we're going in this really interesting space. So, Maria, thank you so much for being here today. I'm really excited to get our chat going. When you think about brands, companies, names, what it says about an organization. I work for a legacy organization, NBC. You think maybe some negative things, stodgy, old, television, but there's a lot of good things that come with that. Trust, expertise, positive values as well. You work for a very recognizable company, Ogilvy. You've got the founder's name right there in the name. What does that say about corporate culture, and how do you communicate what your culture needs to be to your employees?
So I'm very particularly drawn to founder cultures because I like the idea of having sort of a set of values or some roots in a culture that you can draw upon, especially doing what we do in human resources. At Ogilvy, David Ogilvy is an iconic part of the advertising space. I think if you're in that industry, in that space, people know who David Ogilvy is. He is the father of advertising in many ways. And so we cling to that in a very important way because the values that David set out for the agency at the time are still the values that we live by today. But we're very careful to ensure that we don't sort of focus on the past too much, and we try to modernize those values and those tenets so that they fit a modern organization today. So it's the thing that grounds us culturally, but it's not the thing that we continually focus on as we develop new strategies and new approaches to continue to remain modern in today's industry. Culturally, especially given what's going on, across corporate America these days, across the country, across the globe, I think having a strong culture is everything because there's only so many things that we can put forward for employees to kind of hold on to in terms of their experience. And that culture that we cultivate very intentionally is one of those things that we protect because I think it's important, and I think it's important to the employee journey and the employee experience.
How do you make sure that reaches every employee or as many employees as possible? You have a very big organization, obviously.
Well, we're in advertising,
yeah,
so
that's true.
It's literally, so you will see, David Ogilvy quotes and the values and just our mission, the things that just even learnings and ideas and tenets, whatever it happens to be, they're on every wall, they're on, literally on our home pages, they're on our notebooks, we talk about them in every meeting, they're in our decks. Everything that we do somehow is drawn back to who we are, what we stand for, what we believe in, and what we expect of our people being part of that environment.
That's really consistent reinforcement. Let's talk about some of the challenges that you're facing right now with people management. So much economic, technological, political change we're dealing with. I know many people in here are dealing with probably some similar challenges. What are you seeing and what are you doing to handle it?
What are we not seeing is probably the better. Even in the opening remarks, I was like, that's my to-do list. Like that was literally, so I say this often. I feel like as an HR professional in 2020, it felt very unprecedented, right? We had so much, mental and physical and psychological safety issues. We had a lot of diversity issues within the United States at the time. That was when Black Lives Matter and the George Floyd situation was at the forefront. We obviously were trying to get people out of physical spaces and working remotely. It almost, and we had such, economic uncertainty, and it almost feels like we're exactly there again, which I never thought I would say after 2020, and we started to kind of climb out of that. But right now, it feels like there are such economic uncertainty and headwinds, that we are finding ourselves in a moment of just such uncertainty that we're just not sure like how much to invest, how much to pull back, how much to wait and see what our clients are doing. We've got what's happening within the administrative and the EEOC and DOJ guidelines around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that is something that we have not had to navigate in this way before. We are really still dealing with now trying to get employees back into a hybrid work environment and all the nuance that's coming with that. And then layer on all of this, on top of this, again, that mental and physical and emotional well-being that employees expect and demand these days. So I find it a very challenged time right now in this environment.
A lot of the change around the pandemic, rightfully so and necessarily so, swung toward empathy, flexibility, not just as a business function, but also as a cultural function, wanting to make employees truly feel those things. But the title of this talk and the op-ed that you wrote, from stop being nice, start being kind when it comes to employee development specifically. So first, tell us the difference in your eyes, difference between nice and kind, and how that fits in this workplace environment today.
Sure. So I think that being nice is protecting people's feelings, which is important. I don't expect anyone to be rude or caustic, but I don't think it's authentic. I don't think it helps people grow, and I don't think it helps people find the exact right opportunities and right career path for themselves. Being kind is about authenticity, it's about transparency, and it's about not shying away from those difficult conversations that ultimately will help people grow. I see it in one-on-one conversations with employees. If you think about performance reviews and even termination meetings and feedback sessions, I think because there's also a liability in there for us as organizational leaders that we tend to shy away, say as little as possible. That doesn't really help the individual who's on the receiving end of that. I see it in board meetings and in business meetings where terrible ideas move forward because nobody wants to be that dissenting voice.
When everybody looks around the table, like, is anybody going to say anything?
Exactly. It's like, is this a good idea? Am I the only one? Am I like, what's going on here?
It's courageous to be that first person.
And it's exactly what I think being kind is. It's about being authentic. It's about being courageous. And if you think about today's, the moment that we're in with artificial intelligence and AI, and I'm sure that's going to come up in every session today, the reality is we are expecting people to show up differently. We are expecting people to know skill sets and understand a new way of working that did not exist. So if we are not honest with people and transparent and direct about what we need, how we need it, and where they can go get those skills or what they can do to develop or find these opportunities or show up differently, if it's a behavioral issue, they won't be able to improve, and we won't cultivate a workforce that's going to move us into this next moment where we are embracing our AI in every single thing that we do on a daily basis. And that's just one small example.
And I think most employees would generally agree that if a negative outcome is coming their way with either downsizing or, God forbid, affecting their job, they at least would be able to handle the changes, no matter how drastic or simple they are, knowing that at least those changes were communicated to them repeatedly, because nobody likes surprises or short-term changes. And one of the quotes in there that I pulled out, which I really liked, was prioritizing short-term comfort over long-term success helps no one.
Correct.
Helps no one. And just thinking, okay, well, you treated me nice in the quick review, but it really hurt me in the long run. That's not good for anybody.
No, and I cannot tell you, it sounds so strange, and I'm sure so many people in this room have had the same experience. I cannot tell you how many times somebody has either thanked me during a termination meeting to say thank you for telling me the truth, or has followed up a month, 6 months later to say thank you, this is exactly what I needed, and now I am thriving in the following ways. It's about being empathetic, not being rude, being kind. It's about being honest and transparent in a way that supports people versus is inauthentic or maybe distracting.
Let's talk about more of that uncertainty I think that we're all feeling and facing right now. Do you think too many companies are falling into this short-term thinking, short-term planning? Because there is definite uncertainty on a lot of different levels. But what's your feeling about balancing this I don't know mentality that a lot of companies are just forced to express with honesty most of the time, but also understanding that we need to play the long game on a lot of these things with people, with business plans. That is a long game. So how do you balance the situation right now?
So I think it's really easy to fall into the short-term trap. I think especially when you're looking at your quarterly numbers or your quarterly results, or you're getting pressure from everywhere around the globe, I think it's easy to fall into that trap. However, I don't think, again, any successful corporation or organization can allow themselves to do that. So, without having that level of visibility into other organizations, I don't think that most companies are simply focused on the short term. I think that most organizations are dual balancing, right? So you've got your deliverables for this quarter and next quarter and your year-end results, and you're obviously focused there. But I think simultaneously, everybody is trying to figure out, okay, how do we restructure? What does our strategy look like? How do we embrace AI to create efficiency within the agency or within the organization? I think it's a dual play, and I would guess most successful companies are doing just that.
And on that efficiency point, whether it is just with normal management changes or organizational changes, or with AI coming in to do some things that we typically relied on people to do, when it comes to downsizing, of course, cost cutting is the number one thing typically that companies make that decision. But let's move on from just that first decision. How do you help employees deal with the new scenario, the new situation of, hey, this happened, we got leaner here. What's the next conversation to say, here's how we go forward better from this point?
So for us, again, it's around transparency and direct conversation. So we are honest about the financial situation within the agency at any given time, and we continually make sure that people understand how the pieces fit together. So yes, this happened, and here's the moment that we are in, but what we very quickly pivot to is, here's the role that you can play in the organization that will drive a better outcome, or will help unlock growth over here, or may allow us to provide a different type of offering. If you can do X, Y, and Z, we believe it will feed over here. And so we give people a sense of purpose in every role at every level within the agency, so that they understand how the pieces fit together. And we also try to be very clear about the strategy and the pivoting strategy, right? So the strategy that we had a year ago that we thought was going to be our 2025, 2026 strategy has quickly pivoted. And so now we're spending a lot of time ensuring that every layer of management, down to middle management and even beyond that, understand what the pivot looks like and why.
That can be, challenging for employees, because you told me the goal was here, or you told me the focus was here, and then making sure there's consistent communication to tell them, I guess, why that pivot happened.
Absolutely.
That's got to make all the difference.
It's honest. Honestly, I think, and you see this in employee surveys very often, is that employees crave information. And they should. Honestly, information is power, and it's empowering when you have facts to be able to make informed decisions on. And so for us, again, we believe, give as much transparent information as we are able to at the appropriate levels, so that people do understand at a macro level what's happening. Because it's very easy to not understand a quick change in direction, or why there may be, cost-cutting measures put into place, or there might be a different revenue stream that we're investing in versus one that we had already communicated. So ensuring that we are continually having those conversations is really key at our agency.
You mentioned every panel is going to talk about AI. I think that's a good thing, because I think we all need to learn more about it and get different takes on where everybody's coming from, how they're approaching it. So what are you seeing at Ogilvy right now with how AI is looking, impacting the emotions of your employees, how they feel about their jobs, the technical organizational structure within the company? Ogilvy's a creative company, NBC's a creative company, so the writing and the artistic part of AI is probably the thing that we're focused on the most. I know there's probably a lot of creative colleagues out here as well. How are you handling it at Ogilvy?
So we're embracing it. We have to. It's the right thing to do. Exactly as you said, there is a lot of angst within the agency because we have designers and musicians and proofreaders and writers and copyright. I mean, you name it. AI can do a lot of that. And so initially there was a lot of angst and concern and almost resistance, I would say. And we have overcome that hump in a really nice way, I think. We have taken AI and shown people what it can do and what it cannot do. And there is a lot that it cannot do. But where it can be efficient, it saves people time on the things that are not, I don't think, fill their cup, right? It's the things that are rote, administrative, repetitive, etc., that I think sometimes empty people out a little bit. It doesn't feed their soul. So what we have focused on is focus on the things that feed your soul, that AI cannot do, and embrace the AI efficiencies in where it can. And there is a really beautiful duality to using it in a way that allows people to get a few hours back in their day. I personally have not seen it replace whole jobs yet. I'm sure in some industries that is absolutely the case, and I'm sure in our industry it will be the case at some point. But right now, it's a duality. And so it's saving people time and allowing them to focus on the truly human-centric things that I think are more rewarding ultimately in the type of work that we do. And that's how we are encouraging people to embrace it. And then it is training.
Hopefully fun training, interesting training.
We have something called WPP Open. WPP is Ogilvy's holding company, and their AI platform is called Open. And we do things called Open for Open Days, where we essentially shut down the agency globally in every office for a full day, and we bring people into the open platform and we show them specific tasks in their vertical. So as a designer, as a copywriter, as a strategist, this is what you should be using AI for and how to do it. Wow. And it allows that adoption in a safe place. And you'll see the adoption trends right after those Open for Open Days, and the line continually increases, which is great.
That to me is, I think, maybe unusual or radical to say, hey, time out on the work that we do every single day for something that hopefully is going to affect us for years in the future. Because I know a lot of trainings, whether it's something that's mandatory or compliance or something that hopefully gets people ahead like this, it's, hey, do it when you can. Do it on your own time, in between your day. So for you guys to actually say, hey, it's that important.
It is that. It's absolutely that important to us. And
yeah. I bet there was some pushback though on that. Maybe at first to say, are we really gonna take a whole day? And
well, it was I wouldn't say pushback. It's the really like, how really? We can't really. Our clients.
Right.
And of course, there's some nuance to it where clients come first. Clients always come first within the agency. Having said that, it's not all on one day, right? So each market around the globe chooses a day or 2 half days, whatever makes the most sense for that particular market. But yes, it's mandatory, and and actually people have embraced it. We really didn't get that much pushback, to be honest.
We've only got a couple minutes left here in this chat. I want to ask, though, even though we're talking about Ogilvy and your experience right now, you spent 25 years at Edelman. I mean, that's a long time at one place. I want to ask, what are some of the things that you learned along the way? Of course, not only things that helped you, but things that you were able to bring over, implement change for a lot of people out here that are thinking, either you're at a place for a long time or maybe you're thinking about a move to another place. What would you describe about that transition, about having something so ingrained for such a long time and bringing it to a new place?
Sure. So Edelman is a public relations agency, so it's in the same industry, the communications industry. So I didn't veer too far.
Sure.
It's interesting. At Edelman, I get the question a lot, like, why did you stay anywhere for 25 years? And my answer is that I really learned a lot about the employee journey, and I think that I can now apply that in my profession based on personal experience, which was I stayed because I was constantly challenged. I was constantly learning new things and being given new opportunities. I always felt appreciated and rewarded appropriately, and I worked for people that I respected and admired in many ways. And so
that sounds like a combination of good reasons to stay somewhere.
Well, exactly. And so if you think about being an HR professional, now those are the things that I now really put my focus on in terms of the experience I want our employees to have. And so I learned a lot about the employee experience during my time at Edelman, and I brought that over to Ogilvy. And as I mentioned at the onset, they're both founder cultures, and there is a tenet of strong culture and family if you think about it in those terms. And I really have enjoyed that for myself personally, which is why I think I've been drawn so much and so closely to my time at Ogilvy.
Last question really quick before the next panel comes on. I want to leave this audience with, if you can, give me your word of 2025 that you are paying attention to in this space, something that you think things are changing all the time, but you think will carry through to December 31st as a real priority for you in the space.
A word.
One word.
Ooh, this is a hard one. For me, it's inclusion. And I think right now, and I mean that in the DEI space, but I also mean it much more broadly. I want our employees to feel a sense of belonging and a sense of feeling like they are part of something bigger during their time at Ogilvy, so that they are included in the meetings that they can grow and develop from. They are included in a team that they are being fulfilled as being a part of. They are working on client work that is going to be good for the world, the country, the industry, whatever it happens to be. I want people to feel they are in a safe, inclusive space, doing something that is part of something bigger.
I'm going to finish with a story picking up right off of that. I was at an event recently for a former colleague who received pretty much a Hall of Fame, a Chicago Television Journalism Hall of Fame award. And this is a guy who got up at 1 o'clock in the morning every single day to do the weather. His name is Andy Avalos. Maybe some of you will know the name. And we were at this, he's been retired for 3 or 4 years. And I asked him, I said, Andy, great to see you. How you been? How's the family? How's retirement? And he goes, I don't miss getting up at 1 o'clock in the morning, but I do miss being part of something bigger than myself. Mm-hmm. The guy got up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I thought he would have ditched the whole thing about working in television. No, I miss being a part of something bigger than myself. So that's kind of what I'm hearing of what
Love
you
it.
want.
Speaks to being to that togetherness.
Yeah, it was really, really a nice sentiment and great to see him as well. Maria O'Keefe, let's give her a hand. Thank you so much.
Thank
really
you.
great.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.